Welcome to the Line Life podcast. I'm Jeff Postlewaite, Senior Editor of T&D World, and today we're bringing you more stories of the grit, courage, and inspirational teamwork that it takes to be a line worker.
Hi, this is Amy Fishbach, Field Editor for T&D World magazine. Thanks for tuning in to the Line Life podcast. This week is the 2024 International Lineman's Rodeo Week, and it kicked off with the annual 1.5-day Safety and Training Conference. This event is always focused on improving the safety of the line trade and getting all the competitors in a safe state of mind before they have the competition on Saturday. Thank you to all the sponsors who made this event free for the attendees, and for all the pre-apprentices, apprentices, journeyman line workers, and supervisors who came to the conference to learn about everything from hydration to personal protective equipment to situational awareness. This episode will highlight a few of the organizers from the International Lineman's Rodeo Association, as well as a few of the presenters at the conference. Thanks again to everyone who came out to the event, and it was wonderful to see you at the Lineman's Expo, and we look forward to seeing you at the trade night and also at the competition on Saturday. We're going to start out with Reston Owen, who is a member of the Safety and Training Committee for the International Lineman's Rodeo Association. Reston, can you talk about this year's Safety and Training Conference and what are some of the topics that you're highlighting this year?
Yes. Thank you again for the opportunity to talk. This year we're doing a lot of focus on some of the new regulations and stuff with OSHA and heat stress and things of that nature. We've had people come in and talk about hydration, how important it is, the fabrics that are going in with it. And we'll have some other people coming in tomorrow and discussing more in depth on some other things. It looks like a good turnout so far. I know we had like 300 people registered, so it looks pretty close to that many that have been in there. Good turnout, 40th anniversary. So it's a really fun time for us all.
And then, Rustin, you have some students in there, I noticed, from Metropolitan Community College, Kansas City. Why do you think it's important for the students to be here at the Safety and Training Conference?
I think it's very important for students to come and see that as the job that they're getting into, the career, safety is not just spoke about at the school, but in everyday life and everyday actions that you take on this job and this career field. And it reinforces that importance that they're currently learning.
And then what about the military? I noticed that there were a lot more here today, and I know that you served in the military and worked as a line worker before you have your current role here at the Safety and Training Committee. Talk about having more of the military competitors here this year.
That's very, very exciting to me. As you know, I worked very hard to build that school for the Army linemen, and seeing the teams grow to this amount has been great. It's almost like having a legacy that you get to see grow every year. So it's very important to me, and I love to see them in the safety conference to press that on. Some of them asked me about a career in safety in the industry afterwards, which is awesome. So it's really wonderful.
And then what about the 40th anniversary? Talk about what you're looking forward to this year at the International Lineman's Rodeo.
Anytime you hit an anniversary, this is the 40th. It's been around a long time. There's a lot of people that have been here from the beginning. There's a lot of people that are new. For me personally, it's about the 19th year that I've been involved in it. It's really awesome, and it kind of worked out really good for where I currently work at with Honeywell Salisbury, because this is the 100th year for the patent on the line hose. So it kind of all ties together. We have 40 years of this great event, 100 years of protecting linemen, and it just keeps growing and getting better.
Well, thank you, Reston.
Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate it.
Next, we're going to hear the voice of Chad Schimpf, who works for Ameren, Illinois, and who is the MC for the event. And he was a personal injury speaker a few years ago, and now he's part of the Safety and Training Committee. And this is what he had to say to the attendees at the event.
Hopefully these 2 days today is going to help you guys and gals be smarter, be safer on the job. That's what the safety conference is about. And we try to get the information, as good as we can. Get people in here that are going to be relevant to what you people deal with every day.
Riley Brin is the public safety manager for Endeavour Energy, who came all the way from Sydney, Australia to Kansas City for the very first time for the International Lineman's Rodeo Week. Riley is talking about his session that he delivered at the Lineman's Rodeo Safety Conference. Can you talk about what brought you to Kansas City for International Lineman's Rodeo Week?
I've been in the industry for 22 years, and this has always been something on my bucket list to come and see the rodeo and how you guys do it over here. So pretty keen to learn how I can, I guess, explore different contacts and collaborate with other utilities across America. We've got a pretty big growing population in Australia and lots of infrastructure development. I'm sure we can learn a lot from each other.
And do you have any competitions like this in Australia where you have line workers compete?
We have expos and field days and similar sort of events, but nothing on this scale. Nothing quite like the Hurt Man competition and things like that, from what I can see in the videos and photos anyway.
And then talk about what you'll be talking about today at the Safety and Training Conference.
A lot about damage prevention and public safety and how different sort of workers and industries interact with power lines. There's a lot of, I guess, situational awareness that needs to be thought about, planned for and prepared for on work sites. And in Sydney in particular, we're seeing a really big boom in infrastructure development, lots of construction, lots of civil excavation work, buildings going up right around power lines. And with our population growth and just that expansion happening, we're seeing an alarming trend of incidents. So I guess I wanted to share our experience, our journey, what we're doing about it, and hopefully call on some willing participants to share some ideas from here and lessons learned from utilities in America.
And then what are some of your tips that you're going to share with the attendees today about how to stay safe and situationally aware?
The big one is planning. So a colleague of mine, Glenn Cook, he's from Australia as well, he pioneered an application where we use geospatial data from our drones and helicopter flights to look at power line overlay. And I guess the simplicity of this application that he developed was to put the power line infrastructure data accessible on a mobile app so you can view a Google Earth image before you turn up to site to set up your crane or equipment or trucks and construction activity. You could see where the power lines were, how far they might be from your site, but ultimately who to contact and lean on for some help when you prepare and set up your site.
Perfect. And can you talk a little bit about your company, Endeavour Energy?
Endeavour Energy look after a big part of Western Sydney down to our Illawarra, so we've got a good mix of some rural, we've got some pretty busy CBD areas, we've got a lot of underground, we've got a lot of overhead. We service 1.2 million customers. We've got arguably the largest growth area in the whole country, so we put a big focus on our community and customer focus there to listen to them, see how we need to service their needs better and ultimately maintain a reliable source of electricity.
Well, you should bring them to Kansas City to compete one day.
I think that would be fun. We'd have to compare processes and set up for that, but that would definitely be pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
During the first day of the Lineman's Rodeo Safety and Training Conference, the International Lineman's Rodeo Association featured a session titled Leadership and Attacking Adversity. Here is an interview with the speaker from that presentation. I'm here with Eric Kapitulik from the program Leadership, and he's about ready to give a presentation at the 2024 International Lineman's Rodeo Safety and Training Conference. And Eric, talk a little bit about some of the highlights of your presentation that you're going to give today.
Yeah, thank you. So the program has one mission: develop great teammates and leaders to create world-class teams. That's all we do. We have the opportunity and the privilege of doing so with more than 160 teams, college and professional athletic teams and corporations throughout North America. That's what we do. As we're going to highlight today, as I'll highlight to the audience today, talent allows us to provide energy. Making a commitment to be the best teammate and best leader that we can be, that allows us to provide energy safely. How to do so is what I'll share today.
And can you talk a little bit about, I know sometimes linemen get into the leadership roles and it might be something that they've never done before. Can you talk about some of the tips that you have for line workers that want to be foremen or field supervisors, but may not have the training or expertise to do so? How can they kind of get prepared for that role?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And that's one of the reasons why the program gets hired by so many firms, is that too often the lineman who may be a great lineman gets named the supervisor. But just because you're a great lineman doesn't necessarily mean you're a great supervisor of linemen.
Right.
The same is true, by the way, for the best salesman. Doesn't mean necessarily that he or she is a great sales director either, right? So we have to be developing our people. And most organizations do a great job of developing their technical skills. But just as we develop technical skills, we have to develop leadership skills too. Hopefully you have an organization that invests in you to develop those leadership skills either before or shortly thereafter you being put into a leadership role, number one. If not that, what we challenge everybody to do is read. Reading is a way to grow. Our experience is another way to do it. But why just rely on our own experiences or the experiences of others? Certainly talk to other leaders. What do they do well? What do they wish they had known? Or a couple of things that we would suggest to any person, let alone a new crew leader or general foreman.
And what do you think it takes to be a good crew leader or foreman in the line trade right now?
I don't know if this is any different than what it takes to be a great crew leader or foreman 50 years ago, if it's any different, or if it'll be any different 50 years from now. But if we're going to be the best teammates and best leaders we can be, whether that means crew leader or supervisor, director, whatever, if we're going to be the best ones that we can be, first and foremost, we must be able to effectively communicate. Must be. I think it's the greatest hurdle that so many crew leaders have and so many supervisors have, is that before maybe they were in a job where they were a doer.
Right.
But to be a leader, you must be able to effectively communicate to the doers what needs to be done and how to do it safely. The ability to effectively communicate is a mission critical skill that many leaders in any industry struggle with.
And how do you think that effective crew leadership translates to a safe work environment?
Boy, it's really, well, it's half of the equation. The other half being the teammates. So being a great leader is 50%, having great teammates is 50%. However, both are 100% responsible. Both are 100% responsible for creating a safe environment. And the way that we do so is is leaders understanding that first and foremost, to be a great leader, you need to be a great teammate. And as for great teammates, what great teammates have to understand is the best teammates consistently meet and exceed two standards. First, we set the example. We follow our standard operating procedures. The standard operating procedures are standard because they're the safest way to do something. So first and foremost, great teammates set the example, and then great teammates hold each other accountable to doing so. Whether you're a crew leader or a teammate, you're both 100% responsible for ensuring that occurs. You yourself are doing it safely, and then you're demanding and helping all of your teammates to do the same.
Is there anything you want to say to our Line Life podcast listeners about crew leadership or safety?
Yes. Thank you. As a homeowner and a user of your service, with our experiences working in the power industry, I've grown, and my teammates and I at the program have grown to have such an appreciation for their work ethic, their professionalism, their can-do attitude, their desire and even passion for getting those lights turned back on my home for me, my wife, and my children. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
During this year's Safety and Training Conference, several of the speakers highlighted the importance of hydration and the dangers of heat stress. For example, the conference kicked off with a presentation by Dylan Koch from Working Athlete, who talked all about the importance of hydration. Let's listen in on part of his presentation in which he drives home the importance of staying hydrated and what happens to your body if you don't get enough fluids during the workday.
The most important piece of equipment you own is you. It's your body, and we can have the best fall protection, okay, hard hats, FR, whatever it may be, but if this shuts down, none of that other stuff matters. None of that other stuff is really going to matter at the end of the day. So just understand that the most important piece of equipment you have is it's yourself. It's your head, your brain, your body, everything, okay? Try and keep that mindset as we work through this. We will be talking about heat illness. Heat illness is a very important thing right now. I'm sure most of you have heard of the new OSHA regulation that's being proposed. There's a lot of review going on with it right now, and I would ask that you do your own research and find out how that pertains to you and your workforce, how that pertains to you and your crew and the conditions that you're working in. We believe that your hydration level is impacting more than just how many heat-related illnesses you had last year, or how many people went down due to heat illness. We believe it's recovery. We believe it affects your situational awareness, or hazard recognition, or cognitive ability, capacity, mental capacity. Your healthy aging, right? We talked about that. We're walking water. We're about 80% water, every single one of us in here. So it's extremely important to understand that when we're talking about water and heat illness, it's more than just heat-related illnesses or going down due to heat exhaustion. Dehydration and cognitive decline, 2% water loss, your brain's already going. At just 2% water loss, your brain is already going. 85% of us are chronically dehydrated. This is happening to most of us in here daily. 5% water loss, you'll notice your extremities, right? That's where the cramping happens, the slowing of reaction time, maybe more lethargic. Maybe you are tripping over something you don't typically trip over because you're dragging your feet a little bit. A very, very small percentage of water loss, your brain and your body begins to shut down.
Brad Sipe from Lakeland Industries also mentioned heat stress in his presentation titled Moisture Wicking FR Fabrics and Their Role with Heat and Cold Stress. Here he is talking about a heat stress mobile app and also some tips about a prevention program that will help keep line workers safe when they're working in extreme heat.
There's also a heat stress mobile app that many of you might be aware of. Very handy and helpful out there in the field for you. But simplified, what is their prevention program? Well, 8 steps. And if you do these and remember these, they're going to be extremely helpful. Number 1, you need to designate somebody at the job site who's in charge of the heat-related illness program. You need to monitor the temperatures because your steps change, specifically your hydration, your rest periods, your cool down periods, depending upon those temperatures. You need to have water and shade at rest, and in some environments, even cool down periods.
Finally, we're going to hear a clip of a presentation that was titled Enhancing Safety Through Situational Awareness. And Ryan Carney from Critical Incident Preparedness Systems and Chris Gandia from Strategic Training and Response Systems partnered on a presentation and gave a demonstration on what happens when a line worker encounters an angry customer out in the field, possibly someone who might be carrying a weapon like a knife or a gun, and they showed a presentation on stage. And to see that clip, you can look at our website at tdworld.com/electric-utility-operations. We'll be posting some videos from the safety conference on our website. But first, let's listen in on this presentation.
And life looks like this to us. Again, it's because we're worried about our own world. Everything else is blurry. We're not looking at people in front of us. We're not paying attention to things that are going on. Well, I'm going to challenge all of you that when you leave here, next time you're out and about, shopping in a mall, supermarket, wherever you are, challenge yourself. Instead of looking at the world like it's blurry to you, I want you to start scanning. And what I mean by scanning is start looking out. So if you're in a supermarket, scan the people that are like maybe 50, 60 feet away from you. Not the people that are right next to you. As you're walking, the people that are 50, 60 away from you, you're recognizing. You're looking for people that you may recognize. Friends, family, people from your neighborhood. And as you walk, people that have been close to you, they've already been scanned. So start your standing out, and as you're walking to people, the people that are now getting close to you have already been scanned. And try to recognize, see if you recognize any familiar faces. It'll start to look like this, right? You'll start to recognize people that are now familiar to you. That's how we start to kind of break that fuzziness of our world that we live in. We're walking out and about.
For more coverage of the 2024 International Lineman's Rodeo Safety and Training Conference, make sure you read the article in the December 2024 print issue of T&D World magazine, and then also check out the photo gallery that will soon be on our website at www.tdworld.com. And make sure you stay tuned to our website and social media to learn more about the 2024 International Lineman's Rodeo Week. And if you're at the International Lineman's Expo today, Friday, October 18th, make sure you stop by the T&D World booth to get your badge scanned and participate in raffle drawings. And you can also participate in a Line Life podcast recording, and we will feature you on a future episode. Make sure you follow this podcast by going to linelife.podbean.com and just simply clicking the word follow. You can also follow the podcast in your favorite podcasting app. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast and celebrating the line trade.
This episode of the Line Life podcast was written, recorded, and edited by Amy Fishbach. It was produced by Jeff Postlewaite. That's me. To listen to past episodes, visit www.tdworld.com/podcasts or find us at Podbean. You could also drop us a voice memo or message at linelifepodcast@gmail.com with your comments on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please follow this show on Podbean or your favorite podcasting app to be updated when new episodes are released. Thank you for listening.